Hey guys, this is Keim Interviews, and we are here with Too Close to Touch. All right, so you guys recently came out with your brand new album, Haven't Been Myself, and the title is just kind of like vague and whatnot, so I just want to like talk about it. What does the album title mean? How does it like kind of allude to the theme of the album?
So basically kind of the collective theme of the album is kind of branches off of the loss of my sister last December, and kind of the transformation that someone goes through like whenever they lose like something like that. So, whether it's, there are different songs on the album that contextually mean different things, but, like different things that were affected and like ultimately, like I started to turn into a person that I wasn't, like, and I started to change, and the whole situation changed me. So, kind of the record as a whole, sort of from the starting point, which is sympathy, which is kind of like I guess more or less the like denial stage of it all and stuff, and then everything that it leads up to until it finishes, like with Eiley. It's like all one big progression kind of just like certain things in my life that I was struggling with as a result of like a tragic event that happened. When something like that happens, it does change you. Like it turns you into something, and like you form habits, maybe whether they're habits that you use like to cope with or just different tendencies and stuff. When we got into the studio, I hadn't been myself, like, so it fit, like it fit the theme. It was an extremely like honest record about just like personal struggle.
Did you start writing immediately, or did you like have like a whole like almost like a time of like questioning like, is music for me? Like, what was the most drastic point for you, like as to how this affected your music career?
So it's crazy that the night before it happened, we were on a big conference call with our manager. When we were discussing, what we were gonna do as far as like beginning at that moment to like we were just starting right then to dive into the record. We knew we wanted to do it in the spring to early summer of like the coming year and stuff. So it's like, okay, let's start brainstorming like what do we want, like contextually, what do we want this album to be like? What elements from our first record did we capitalize on better? Like, what are kids attaching themselves to more? Like, what types of songs? And I was really in a really happy place when we had that conversation, and I knew that I wanted to write a darker record, going off more of the like Hell to Pay, Nerve Ending side from record one, because those were the songs that kids were really like emotionally investing themselves in, and that I had emotionally invested myself in all the songs, but those were like extremely personal like scenarios. So like I remember talking to Daniel and being like, man, I know I have to write a dark record, but I really don't know like what to write about right now. And then unfortunately I woke up the next morning to a call from my father saying that like she had passed like in her sleep in the night. So I knew like right then, I did write, nothing actually that I wrote then ended up being used. It was more or less just like 30 pages of just like journaling, I guess, like just freeing my thoughts. But no, I knew from the moment that happened that like that's like what I had to write about. That writing is like how I cope with things, and like tracking songs and stuff. It's like an awesome form of emotional release, I guess, for me. And then it's awesome that it can be used as a tool to like help other people that are going through similar things. So yeah, I knew then what I needed to write. It was just kind of like, what am I going to write? When am I going to be ready to write about certain things? Because there's a whole like grieving process that went along with that I was totally unfamiliar with.
Just to take a moment for fans that like don't know the song Eiley, could you just talk a little bit about it?
Like when you lose somebody sometimes, like especially like, she was 3 years old, and she had a whole life ahead of her. So, the context of the chorus, which is like, take me instead, or the lyrics, it's like, that moment of almost like self-loathing where you're like, why? Like, I've messed up so many times. Like, and she's gone before me. Why am I still here? So the entire thing was kind of like just an angry but human, kind of like open letter to God, like from just someone that just didn't understand. So yeah, it goes through, and you know, it gets really descriptive in the verses of, you know, of certain, like, you know, almost like dialogued, like, or dialogue that I would like have with and God. Stuff. Like when I was just, you know, going through this and like not understanding it and like being extremely angry and like, and then just, you know, the choruses, it's kind of sums it up where it's just like, you know, like, I don't know anymore, like why, why didn't you take me? Which obviously, you know, like, closure has come a little bit more since then, and like, though those aren't like healthy feelings to have, they are a part of like grieving and loss and stuff. So I wanted to make it as like honest and human as possible. Like, and it turned out being like, especially the bridge in the song, it's like the most angry point of the song, where it's just like, these are questions that I need answers to. You know, that event is what like themed the entire record, and like the reason that she's gone or passed is like why I hadn't been myself. So definitely wanted to end it with the most honest, and just like, I had already poured myself out on like so many other songs on the record and stuff that I was like, well, like, I got to go out with a bang. Like, I got to, and that was like, I had avoided writing, you know, every song on the record about like her and stuff, and tried to like take a different approach to where like how it had changed me without directly like mentioning like why I was upset or why I was struggling with this or that. And then the last song is just like, all right, you guys have been patient, you've made it here on the record, like, this is the grand finale, this is why I haven't been myself. So
I want to talk about that too. Like, you guys are already an emotional band. Like, lyric-wise, you can hear the emotion through your voice. So I think that's awesome. And I was just wondering, like, in the studio recording this album, like, was that twice as draining? Did you like, was it like a one-take thing, or was it a multiple takes thing, so like that you can get yourself in that situation?
So funny enough, during the bridge of that song, like, I did start getting like choked up when I was tracking it, and it ended up being like a good take, and the take that like was on the record. And I remember looking through the window at Eric and stuff after I like took a moment, and he was just like, dude, no, that's it, trust me, like, we have to keep that, like, with a song like this, like, you know, which I don't care, like, I mean, it's anybody out there that wants to be like, oh, well, I wouldn't have cried, bullshit. Yeah, like, it's just like, and I think honestly, like, letting go of that emotion with those lyrics too at the same time was almost just like, when I went and sat down in the control room after and listened through the whole like all the takes and stuff that we'd gone through, I was just like sitting down and was just like, all right, yeah, like, I needed that. Yeah.
You know, like you said, there was a lot of dialogue almost directly to God, things like that. Did this question your faith? Like, what was your faith before? Kind of like, how did this affect like your religion or stance on God and the world and fate and whatnot?
Well, I've actually never been asked that question. I mean, no, I do have Christian beliefs and stuff, you know. Like, I'm out on the road a lot, so like if someone were to ask me, be like, oh, do you go to church every Sunday? It's like, no, I don't. Like, I can't, but like, you know, I still have my personal beliefs and things like that. And I mean, yeah, like, it, you know, and like my mother's, well, my family, like, they're religious and stuff as well. And like, I remember having a conversation with my mom one night, and I was just like sitting down, and I was like, is it like okay to feel like this? Like, am I justified in feeling really angry right now? And I was like lost and confused about the entire thing, and didn't understand it, and still don't. Like, I still don't understand it. But those are feelings I've learned to cope with and stuff. So yeah, no, I mean, it didn't like sway, you know, my beliefs and stuff. And I think it's totally human, like, you know, to feel like that. If I would have just been like, oh, well, this happened, but, you know, that's just how things had to be. No, like, people don't feel like that. That wouldn't have been the healthy way to, to cope with it. So
Going towards this album and how it relates to previous works, what's like something you guys did that like you had never done before, something you experimented with in the studio?
on this record,
Yeah.
all right. So the song "The Art of Eye Contact," it started off as just kind of like a beat, like mostly production, and we crafted it in the studio. And then there was one day where I think Eric had someone that was renting out his studio to track drums, because he's got an awesome drum room.
Yeah.
And his whole studio is just
Insane.
yeah. So we rented an Airbnb in Malibu on the beach, and I was the only one that had, like, the rest of the guys got to like play in the ocean and relax and hang out and stuff all day. Yeah. So Eric and I set up like his little mobile recording rig with a 7B mic and stuff, and just co-wrote and tracked all the vocals for that song, like just sitting right there on the porch, like just looking out the ocean. And you can like hear, it's cool, you can hear like the actual waves. They're not like
Seagulls.
samples. Yeah, we didn't like throw like wave samples in there and stuff. And we tracked it, and originally we tracked the vocals. I was expecting to go back and retrack them with the Manly, like in the studio, and we got back and he sat down and like listened through it, and he was like, dude, we can keep these. It's like a whole song like off the list and stuff. And I was just like,
Hell yeah.
you're the boss, man. I was like, if you can work with it, then yeah. So that was really cool, and it was a really like liberating experience too, to like just get away from everything, because the studio's in North Hollywood. It's like busy. You can't step outside. Like, there's a basketball hoop there, but you can't like step outside and walk out on the street and just like look at the ocean. It's like, oh, there's a Breaks place, and there's a 7-Eleven. This is really
That burrito spot
Tacos Manzanos.
Yeah.
Oh, that
is
is
so good.
Take that back. That is like the closest to an oasis of Eric's studio. Yeah.
How would you say this record fits in with the rest of your discography, and also what is one thing that you wish fans can get from this record?
I think it fits in well with the discography, because we established from the beginning like the type of music we like to write, and it definitely excelled. Like, you know, there are some aspects of nerve endings that aren't on this record. Like, there's no like Pretty Little Thing or Perfect World. I guess the Art of Eye Contact would be considered more like poppy, but it's still darker and like more moody than like, I don't know. I think those songs, you know, we were an adolescent band at that point. That was our first record, and yeah, we just chose to capitalize off of different strengths from that to move on into what we really wanted to begin crafting for LP2. Really, if there's anything that like fans can take from this, just like sit down and take the honest experience from my end, and like and really feel it, and know that, like, you know, we're on two different sides of the spectrum. Like, you're a listener, like, to that song. We're the artists that track that song, but like, that's the beautiful thing about music, is like it can really make you feel like you know that person or that band or that connection to that band, because like they're laying it all out for that reason, for you as a listener to like really feel something from it back. And like, you know, we're two different people, but at the end of the day, like, you know, we go through the same things. Like, we're all humans. We all, you know, feel the same, and, you know, lose the same and love the same and stuff. So yeah, like, it's all a big collective music family effort, I guess. I would say.
Okay, awesome. All right, well, thank you so much for having me, man. I really appreciate it. So guys, make sure to go out, buy the record, Haven't Been Myself, via Epitaph Records. Again, thank you so much for having us. Kime Interviews out. Bye.